Hello, this is Erin with the Joy in Pens and Paper, and it's time to do the pen and ink review for the month of November. So I had 5 pens inked up for November, and I will spend a few minutes just talking about my thoughts on them. So the first pen that I had inked up is a new pen. This is the Esterbrook Model J in violet with a journaler nib, and it's a journaler medium nib that was ground down, or sorry, it's a Esterbrook nib that was ground down into a journaler nib. I inked this up with Wearing Gold Frost, and I did that purposely because I wanted a dark saturated ink. Now, full disclosure, I did reverse these two on this side. So this is actually the section for the Esterbrook Model J. The pen experience, I gave this pen experience a 9 with a journaler nib. It's just going to take me a hot second to really master writing with it. I talk in my 3 inks video about how I am really challenged with a stub nib, and this has a similar feel to that. And sometimes I notice that I have to be intentional with how the nib hits the page in order to get the full benefits of the line variation that comes with a journaler nib. The ink I'm going to give an 8. The Wearing Gold Frost should have this kind of gold sheen to it, and that didn't really come through in any of the writing, but it was a really nice saturated ink. In the combination, I'll give an 8. Actually, now that I'm looking at it right here, you can see the sheen. So I just didn't see it through the month, but I'm seeing it now, which is really interesting. I wonder though, and I'm hesitant to be one of the people throwing shade at Hobonichi and the Sanzen paper, but I did a lot of the writing with this in my 2024 Hobonichi cousin, and I wonder if the paper may have contributed to it not showing off all of the ink properties. So in the combination, I gave an 8. This does still have a good amount of ink left in it. It's really tough to actually see because of how saturated the ink is, but after a while, when you watch it, you'll see that the ink starts to come away from the side of the converter, and you can see exactly how much ink is in there. It looks full, but I know it is not because I have written with it quite a bit. I also used, and actually you can see the nib is dirty. I'm going to wipe it off. Having a hard time getting it all off. That's fine. So I actually laid the nib down on the page and put my hand under and just did a little swatch right here just to see a little bit more of the properties of the ink. And so you can see a little bit of that kind of goldish, copperish sheening right here. So that is the Esterbrook Model J in violet with a journaler nib. Next up is the Laban Rosa in lilac. This has an extra fine nib, but it's a very juicy extra fine nib. And this was inked up with Ferris Wheel Press Roaring Patina Black. The Roaring Patina Black is a really complex ink. It has it is a black base ink, but there are parts of it that lean a little bit navy, a little bit like blue black, and then it occasionally has a red sheen and then a gold shimmer. So again, using that technique of laying the nib down and swatching, I got this swatch right here, and you can likely see, let me see if I can pick it up and get you a better. You can see some of the shimmer. You might have been able to see a little bit of that red sheen around the shimmer area. So it's just a really fun ink to write with. This ink, it is the 20th today. I am likely going to have to refill this ink. It's about right here. Again, it's very dark, so you can see the ink is starting to pull away from the walls of the converter. So I may have to do a partial fill, as I am using this in my 5-year journal this month. So I just want to make sure I finish that out, but I have a bottle, so that's easy peasy to do. Next up is the Pelikan M400 in white tortoiseshell. This has a 14 karat gold nib. Right, yes, 14 karat gold. It is an extra fine nib, but it's German, so it's a very juicy extra fine nib. And this is a piston fill, so it has a very large ink capacity. There is about, let me hold it this way, actually. That much ink is left in it, so I've used this much. I love, love, love this ink. You can see I did that swatch patch right here. I'm seeing a green shimmer right now, but in a different angle, it will look pink. Ooh, you might actually be able to see that as I'm moving it. And sometimes it looks blue. So that is the chameleon shimmer. So this was really, really fun to write with, and I knew it was going to be. I've really enjoyed this combination in the past. The ink is this lovely olivey green, and it does have a little bit of shading when you write with it, the base color ink, and then you add that shimmer on top, and it's just really lovely. So I did give this a 10 out of 10 across the board. And I did also with the Laban Rosa as well. Both of those were just really enjoyable to write with this month. Next up is the Diamine Triple Chocolate in my Lamy 2000 in the black Macrolon. And this also has a 14 karat gold nib, and it's an extra fine nib. I got this actually last year on Fountain Pen Day, which is coming up. If you are new to the fountain pen community, please know that I think it's the first Friday in November, which this year is November 1st, is Fountain Pen Day, and a lot of online retailers will have some really significant deals. And so I believe I got this from Endless Pens. It was a pre-order, and my understanding of what that means is they open it up for sales, they are offering a discount, you order it at that discounted rate, and then at a later point in time, the company will receive that order. They will place it with the distributor, and then they will send it out. So with a pre-sale, you have to go into that very cautiously. I believe the Lamy I got within 4 to 6 weeks. It really wasn't that long, but I had a different pre-sale for the Pelikan M200 in copper rose gold, or rose gold copper, and this took 6 months. So if you are somebody that wants to place an order and you're anxiously awaiting the mail coming and being able to open it up, I encourage you to go into pre-sales with caution, because you have no control over that. You can contact the company, you can complain about how long it's taking, but ultimately you signed up for a pre-sale. So anywho, I got this for an incredibly good price through that pre-sale, and I knew going in I would have to wait, and I was okay with that. Now with the Diamine Triple Chocolate, interestingly, so this I swatched at the beginning, or really the end of last month, and this I swatched today, and this I swatched today. So if you look at these two side by side, this is a lot lighter and a lot pinkier. So over the course of the month, this really lightened up on the page, which was really fascinating. Now, I don't necessarily love this ink. I actually kind of don't love that I have a bottle of this ink. And I'm saying that with a lot of hesitation, because I love almost every single other ink in my collection. It's really hard for me to say this out loud. but I've tried this ink in a few different pens, and I just want something different from it. So anywho, I'm still going to try it in a few more pens. I'm going to see if there's a place for it in my collection. If not, I may look to gift it or sell it or something. But the Lamy 2000, I really enjoy writing with this pen. I found myself reaching for it quite frequently. I love how the nib hits the page. I love the line variation that the extra fine nib has. That was a tip that I heard from another YouTuber. I think it was Simone, had talked about the extra fine is kind of like an architect nib. So that's why I got that specific nib size. And I found myself reaching for this quite frequently. So the pen I'm going to give a 10, the ink I'm going to give a 7, the combination I'm going to give an 8. So that's probably not a do again for me. And lastly is the Esterbrook SD in Sea Glass. This has a fine nib, and I selected this pen for the nib. The fine nib is just so buttery and smooth, and I thought it would lend itself to be a really nice pick for a shimmer ink. Although the Petrified Forest with an extra fine gold plated nib does excellent with a shimmer, but I've only tried one shimmer ink in it. It's the one that my husband gifted to me at the same time as the pen. So to me, I view those as a package deal. But this was with Robert Oster Vampire Pigeon, which is an Atlas Stationers exclusive. I love picking up exclusive inks from different vendors and such. There was a time actually at the beginning of the month where I didn't use this pen for, I think it was 5 days, and the feed clogged up. So I had to flush the feed to get the ink really flowing. And so through the course of the month, I've actually pushed or twisted the converter to get that ink up. So while I love the color of this ink, it's such a gorgeous red. It has really nice shading, and it has this beautiful silvery bluish shimmer. It just was problematic at times. So the pen I'm going to give a 9, the ink a 9, and the combination an 8. So that is my review for this month. Those are my thoughts and my opinions, mine alone. I do not represent anything or anyone other than myself. Take it for what you will. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that I see you in my next one. Bye.